When I was 20, there was no social media, no Instagram to compare lives, no 24/7 news cycle flooding your brain with the worst headlines every day, no pressure to succeed before 30, to get rich early, or to always be cheerful and stable. But the feeling of anxiety, confusion, and insecurity, that has always existed. I remember lying in bed, heart pounding without knowing why. I remember worrying so much I couldn't sleep. I remember believing that everyone else knew what they were doing. Everyone but me. Now at the age of 70, I can say this with confidence. You are not alone. Feeling uncertain doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It just means you're human. I've lived through financial crises. I've said goodbye to the people I love most. I've faced illness, and I've watched the world change in ways no one could have predicted. And through it all, I've learned how to live with anxiety, not by pushing it away, but by understanding it, accepting it, and continuing forward even when it walks beside me. This video won't heal everything in a few minutes, but if I can share a few things I wish I had known sooner, then maybe, just maybe, your path ahead will feel a little less heavy. The roots of anxiety and uncertainty. Anxiety is not something new. It's part of our survival instinct. Since the days we lived in caves, our ancestors had to stay alert to wild animals, hunger, and the forces of nature. The human brain was designed to detect danger, to keep us alive. The irony is, today we're no longer running from tigers, yet we feel more anxious than ever. So what is truly making today's younger generation feel so uncertain and uneasy? In my view, there are three core reasons. First, too much information, too little certainty. Every day you scroll through hundreds of headlines, warnings, advice from all over the world. You hear about wars, crises, climate change, layoffs, inflation, AI taking over jobs. All of it pours into your mind without enough time to process. Your brain is always on alert. But here's the thing. The more you know, the more powerless you feel, because most of those things are beyond your control. When I was young, life was simpler. If I needed a job, I asked around, knocked on doors. There was no Google, no social media. It may have been slower, but I felt like I had some agency. Today you have the whole world in your hands, yet you feel smaller than ever. Second, the pressure to always know what you're doing. I often hear young people say, I feel lost, or I don't know if I'm on the right path. That's completely normal, but social media makes it look like everyone else has it all figured out. They're traveling, launching businesses, married to beautiful people, living the so-called dream life. And you wonder, why am I so confused? But here's the truth. Most people are pretending to have it together. Even at 70, I've never truly had all the answers. Life is a journey of discovery, not a math problem to solve by age 22. Third, a lack of true connection. You might have thousands of followers and still feel lonely, because online conversations are often just surface level. We've forgotten how to sit down and truly listen to each other. I remember afternoons spent simply sipping tea with friends. No phones, no distractions, just presence. Anxiety becomes heavier when we feel alone in it, but when you have someone to talk to honestly, to be heard and understood, that anxiety instantly lightens. In short, your anxiety doesn't mean you're weak. It's a reaction to the way the modern world operates. You are not broken because you feel overwhelmed. You're simply human, living in a time where your mind needs more gentleness, more slowness, and more real connection. What helped me cope with anxiety? One, understand that anxiety is a natural response, not something wrong. Anxiety is not a sign that something is broken inside you. It's not a weakness, not a failure to control your emotions, and certainly not proof that you're not strong enough. In reality, anxiety is part of our survival instinct, an ancient mechanism designed to keep us alert to danger and ready to take action. In the past, when facing wild animals or life-threatening situations, anxiety would activate the sympathetic nervous system to help us fight or flee. The problem is, in today's world, we're no longer surrounded by predators, but our minds still react to modern stressors, unread emails, societal pressure, endless comparisons on social media, as if they're matters of life and death. If you're experiencing anxiety, the first thing you need to do is stop judging yourself. Emotions are not right or wrong, they're signals. When you begin to accept anxiety as a part of the human experience, you'll stop panicking every time it shows up. Instead of asking, why am I like this? Try saying, hello, anxiety, I see you. Acknowledgement and acceptance are the first steps to emotional mastery. Not by forcing anxiety to disappear, but by learning to coexist with it more gently. 2. Don't believe everything you think. Not every thought in your head is true. The human mind is capable of creating all kinds of scenarios, some logical, some irrational, some hopeful, and many fearful. When anxiety takes hold, negative thoughts often flood your mind. You might start believing that everything is going to fall apart, that you'll fail, that someone dislikes you, or that you're not good enough. The problem is, because these thoughts come from inside your head, you naturally assume they're facts without questioning them. The truth is, thoughts are not always facts. They are just mental noise, sometimes echoes from the past, sometimes exaggerated fears. Instead of automatically believing every thought that arises, you can learn to observe them like clouds passing across the sky. Thoughts come and go. You don't have to react to all of them. One helpful strategy is to identify common cognitive distortions, patterns of thinking that feed anxiety, such as catastrophizing, mind reading, or seeing things in black and white terms. When you catch yourself falling into one of these traps, pause and ask, is this really true? Am I looking at this situation fairly? You are not your thoughts. You are the one noticing your thoughts. And sometimes that awareness alone is enough to quiet the noise. Number 3, deep and slow breathing is the fastest way out of the spiral. When anxiety strikes, your body reacts as if you're facing real danger. Your heart races, breathing becomes rapid and shallow, your limbs fidget, and your mind spins with a storm of worst-case scenarios. This is the survival mode, a natural stress response wired into us. But here's the thing. In most situations, you're not actually in danger. You're just trapped in an imagined spiral of fear. And the quickest, most effective way to break free from it is to breathe. Deep, slow breathing sends a signal to your nervous system that you are safe. It shifts you out of stress mode and brings you back to a state of calm. You don't need any fancy tools, no meditation teacher, no quiet room. You only need yourself and your breath. Try this. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 to 8 seconds. Repeat a few times. Within just a minute, you'll feel the difference, as if you've pulled yourself out of the storm inside your head. Many people search for complicated solutions to ease anxiety, yet overlook one of the most powerful tools always available, your breath. Breathing is the bridge between the mind and body. When you learn to control your breath, you also learn to regulate your emotional responses. In a world full of noise and pressure, a single deep breath can be your doorway back to peace. 4. Disconnecting from social media is a form of self-healing. We live in an age where information, emotions, successes, and failures of others are constantly streaming at us, minute by minute. When you're already feeling anxious or uncertain, social media can amplify those feelings tenfold. You see others seemingly happy, successful, and on track, and suddenly you feel lost. But don't forget, what you see online is only the surface. People share their best moments, edited photos, carefully crafted captions. Comparing your real, messy life to someone else's highlight reel is the fastest route to insecurity and confusion. If I were 20 again, I would carve out intentional moments to disconnect every day. You don't have to delete your accounts or disappear completely. Just make space for quiet. It could be 30 minutes of walking without your phone, an evening with a book instead of scrolling, or an entire weekend offline. Disconnecting isn't just about avoiding negativity. It's about hearing your own voice again. When you're not drowning in the constant stream of updates, you start to recognize your true feelings, your own thoughts, and the needs you may have ignored. In a world that never stops talking, silence and stillness are acts of courage and one of the most powerful forms of healing. Number 5. Name your fear, and it will lose its power. Fear is often most overwhelming when it remains unnamed. It hides in your mind as a vague unease, an invisible pressure, a creeping anxiety that you can't quite explain. But the moment you stop, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what exactly am I afraid of? You begin to reclaim your power. If I were 20 again, I would make it a habit to write down my fears, not to be poetic or impressive, just to be honest. I would ask myself, what am I afraid of? And keep writing until the answer surfaced. Maybe it's, I'm afraid of being judged. I'm afraid of failing. Or simply, I'm afraid I'm not good enough. When fear is given a clear name, it no longer controls you. It becomes something you can face, understand, and eventually move through. A named fear is a fear you can challenge. You can ask yourself, is this really true? What's the worst that could happen? What can I still do, even while I'm afraid? This process doesn't erase fear instantly, but it makes it less foggy, and less fog means fewer shadows, and fewer shadows mean less power. You don't have to be fearless to live well. You just need to be aware enough to name what's making you tremble. That awareness is the first step toward freedom. 6. Write down what you can't control, then let it go. One of the biggest sources of anxiety is the illusion of control. You worry about the future, about what others think, about what might happen if things don't go as planned. But the truth is, many things are simply beyond your control, and the more you try to hold on, the more exhausted and anxious you become. If I were 20 again, I would learn to separate what I can change from what I can't. I would take out a pen and write a simple list titled, What I Cannot Control. On it, I might include things like other people's thoughts, the past, global events, or someone else's choices. Then I would close my eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine gently releasing a heavy rope I've been gripping too tightly. Writing it down doesn't make the problem disappear, but it pulls you out of your chaotic thoughts and anchors you in the present. It reminds you that instead of spiraling in fear, you can redirect your energy toward what actually matters: caring for your health, learning something new, showing kindness, or reconnecting with someone you love. Those small, grounded actions are what truly shape your life. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. Letting go means choosing peace over control. It's recognizing that the world is vast and unpredictable, and you don't have to carry it all. You only need to do your part with presence and care. And that, truly, is enough. 7. Create a daily ritual of calm. Modern life is full of noise, notifications, and nonstop demands. In the middle of all this chaos, your mind can easily get swept away, constantly alert, tense, and overwhelmed, often without you even realizing it. That's why creating a daily ritual of calm is so essential. It's like giving yourself an anchor, a small moment each day to return to stillness and reconnect with yourself. If I were 20 again, I would build a simple but sacred habit. Just 10 quiet minutes a day. Maybe it's brewing a cup of tea and sitting silently by the window. Maybe it's writing a few lines in a journal before bed. Maybe it's taking a slow walk with no phone. It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is that you pause, step away from the rush, and breathe deeply into the stillness. A daily ritual of calm is not a luxury. It's a need of the soul. It reminds you that you don't always have to chase, achieve, or respond. It allows you to feel your real emotions, to notice anxiety before it grows louder. Most of all, it helps you build a gentle, caring relationship with yourself. You don't need a lot of time. You just need consistency. A small ritual of calm each day acts like a steady anchor, keeping your mind from drifting too far from the peace that is already within you. 8. Do small things repeatedly. Don't wait for inspiration. When I was young, I often waited for the right mood to begin anything. I believed I had to feel inspired, motivated, and fully ready before I could start. But I've since learned, inspiration is not always reliable, and it shouldn't be a requirement for action. If I were 20 again, I would focus on doing small things consistently every day, instead of waiting for a perfect emotional moment. Write a short paragraph each morning. Exercise for 10 minutes instead of waiting for a full free hour. Clean one small corner rather than waiting until everything is a mess. These tiny acts, done regularly, create momentum, and from movement, inspiration will begin to grow. Action creates inspiration, not the other way around. The more you wait, the more you're trapped by procrastination and the illusion of not enough. But when you take the first small step, you send a signal to your brain, I can. And confidence is built from those little signals repeated daily. Choose one small thing and do it every day. You don't need to be explosive. You just need to start and keep a steady rhythm. In the chaos of life, it is consistency that carries you through uncertainty. 9. When your mind is in chaos, return to the body. There are times when the mind feels like a storm. Anxiety, doubt, looping thoughts that won't stop. We try to think our way out, but the more we think, the deeper we spiral. Why? Because when the mind is where the chaos lies, the solution can't come from within it. I wish I had known in my younger years that one of the most effective ways to quiet a racing mind is to return to the body. Just standing up and walking a lap around the room, stretching gently, or placing a hand over the heart to feel its rhythm can ground us in the present. I used to underestimate the power of simple acts like deep breathing, touching the ground, or noticing physical sensations. Yet those very actions can break the chain of negative thoughts and bring us back to center. The body always lives in the here and now, while the mind travels back to the past or worries about the future. So when you feel swept away by anxiety, ask yourself, what am I feeling in the palms of my hands, the soles of my feet, my breath? These tiny acts of noticing can become your anchor in the storm. When your head is overwhelmed, don't try to think your way through it. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, and feel the life pulsing through your body. That is the place you can always return to, no matter what is happening around you. 10. Remember, you've survived 100% of your worst days. There are days when everything seems to collapse. Career setbacks, broken relationships, declining health, a restless mind. It might feel like you can't go on, as if this is the worst day and nothing will ever get better. But the truth is, you're here reading these words. That means you've made it through every single bad day before this. 100%. I wish I had trusted this more when I was younger. That sadness, pain, and helplessness, they never last forever. They come and go, like passing rain, like changing seasons. Instead of panicking or judging myself harshly during those stormy times, I wish I had simply whispered, "This too shall pass. I've made it before, and I'll make it again." Resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about the ability to rise one more time. And the beautiful thing is you've done it many times, perhaps without even realizing. Believe in that strength within you, not because life will always be easy, but because you are stronger than you think. In your darkest moments, gently remind yourself, you've been here before, and you'll find your way again. 11. Turn to nature as a silent teacher. There are times when the mind becomes too loud, filled with anxiety, expectations, pressure from work, society, and even from within. You might try meditation, books, or talking to friends. But sometimes, what you truly need is simply an afternoon under the trees, a quiet dirt path, or the distant sound of a flowing stream. Nature doesn't try to teach you anything, yet it holds every answer you've been searching for. Trees don't rush to grow, clouds don't force themselves to move quickly, and birds don't try to sing or stay silent just to please anyone. They simply exist, naturally, freely, and with full trust in the rhythm of the universe. If you ever feel lost, nature will gently remind you that you're part of something greater, and that there is nothing wrong with feeling slow, confused, or vulnerable. The earth never scolds you. It embraces you with fresh air, cool breezes, and the rustling of leaves. A walk through the woods, sitting under a tree, or simply looking up at the sky. These aren't a waste of time, but quiet acts of healing. Nature may not solve all your problems, but it brings you back to what truly matters. And when you learn to listen to the stillness of the earth, you also begin to hear yourself more clearly. 12. Reset your goal. Live well, not just great. When we're young, there's often an invisible pressure to achieve something grand, to become someone successful, so that life isn't wasted. Social media, family expectations, even motivational quotes urging us to live brilliantly can become a burden. We start to believe that if we're not outstanding or extraordinary, our lives are somehow meaningless. But over the years, I've come to understand this. To live well, kindly, honestly, and with true presence is far more valuable than being great. A warm meal shared with loved ones, truly listening to someone with your full attention, a small act of kindness that brings someone a smile. These are the quiet, deep things that make a life truly worth living. You don't have to save the world. You don't have to become a legend. You only need to live a life that, when you look back, you know you didn't abandon yourself or what truly matters. Greatness isn't measured by how high you climb, but by how deeply you connect. So live well, even if no one knows your name, even if there's no applause. Because in the end, peace within yourself is the most lasting achievement of all. 13. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you love. We often treat ourselves in ways we'd never treat someone we care about. When we make mistakes, we criticize. I'm so stupid. I'm a failure. No one needs me. These harsh inner voices don't just sting, they quietly erode our confidence and self-worth. But think about how you speak to someone you truly love. When they're sad, you don't judge them. When they fail, you don't scold them. When they're anxious, you don't call them irrational. You listen, you comfort, you offer your gentleness. Why can't we offer the same compassion to ourselves? Our minds need a safe voice inside, a place to return to when the world feels overwhelming, and that voice can be your own. Learn to say things like, I'm doing my best. This will pass. I deserve kindness. This isn't weakness. It's strength. You're building inner safety, a foundation of self-trust and resilience. If you want a more peaceful, grounded life, start by changing how you speak to yourself. Be gentle, be patient, and never abandon yourself, especially in moments when you need love the most. 14. Redefine success. Aim to live well, not to be great. Youth is often obsessed with the idea of success. We're told we must be extraordinary, do something big, leave a mark. But that pressure quietly creates anxiety and a constant sense of not being good enough. In the rush to become great, many forget what truly matters: kindness, patience, quiet joy, and being present with the ones we love. Living well doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to be a millionaire, have millions of followers, or be the best at anything. You just need to be kind, to be yourself, and to live in alignment with the values you believe in. Do your current job with care. Love the person you're with. Help someone without needing recognition. These are the moments that build a meaningful life. If I could send a message to younger generations, it would be this: you don't need to be great to live a life of purpose. Rethink what you're aiming for. Live in a way that would make you feel at peace when your time comes. Not because you were famous, but because you were real. In the end, peace of mind is the truest achievement. 15. Always remember, everything passes, both the good and the bad. In difficult moments, it often feels like the pain will never end. Anxiety, sadness, and disappointment can cloud all hope. But there's a simple, powerful truth. Everything passes. No storm lasts forever. What feels overwhelming today will soften with time. Even if you're hurting right now, that pain will eventually ease. Time doesn't erase everything, but it dulls the sharpest edges. And the opposite is also true. Moments of happiness, success, and intense love are also temporary. That doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy them. It means you should cherish them deeply, knowing they won't last forever. When you understand the impermanence of all things, you become less devastated when life falls apart and less attached when things are going well. This is one of the greatest lessons age can teach. That impermanence is not something to fear. It's what gives life its richness. It makes you stronger, calmer, and more present. Because whether today is beautiful or unbearable, it too shall pass. And that's exactly why you must live fully in every moment, whether it brings sorrow or joy. Life may be chaotic, but you're stronger than you know. Keep walking with a calm heart and a clear mind. Thank you for listening to Elder's Note today. Don't miss the next one.